to transfer of learning. We use transfer of learning every day in our everyday routines. It's this process of applying learning from one situation to another. We've developed this automaticity in certain tasks through practice, and this automaticity can transfer over to other tasks and problems we encounter in the future. So your brain accomplishes this by transferring this knowledge and these skills we gain, transferring them to other situations and contexts, and reusing or modifying and reusing this knowledge with dealing with problems we encounter in the future. Education can be improved by explicitly teaching for transfer of learning and actively engaging learners in activities that increase this transfer. A good example of this is people learn to read and write and then transfer that knowledge and those skills in further learning environments throughout their life. The most fundamental and important ideas in learning is the traditional form of transfer. This traditional form of transfer is the process of making use of learned knowledge and skills in a new environment and a new problem-solving and task-accomplishing situations, while gaining new knowledge and expertise. Metacognition. Teach your kids to think about their thinking. It's a process of building on and integrating new knowledge into previous knowledge. It's creating awareness in what you know and what you're thinking and thinking strategies. So you really want to create this awareness in our kids. A good example of this is revising a paper, written language. It allows a person to slow down and reflect on their thinking. This process of building on and integrating this new knowledge into previous knowledge is also known as constructivism. You want to teach children metacognitive strategies to help them become independent learners and proactively overcome obstacles by using different thinking strategies. So a couple of learning theories, the transfer of learning, are near transfers. So near transfers occur when students apply skills they've learned in one area to a very similar situation. So that transfer of learning occurs easily and naturally. This particular task has been practiced a lot to a high level of automaticity, so it transfers easily. When it's a nearly similar problem or task is encountered, it is automatically solved or accomplished with little or no conscious thought. So, for example, students use writing skills from one class to write different types of essays in the future. Same for reading. Once you learn how to read, the automaticity allows the conscious mind of the reader to really have reading comprehension and get meaning from the material. Students apply far transfers when applying knowledge completely different, what they learn to a completely different context. So they don't automatically see or sense the connections between the two problems. So this far transfer often requires careful analysis and deep thinking. An example of far transfer is applying the game of chess to understand a political campaign. Or if a child is trying to tie a knot behind their back for the first time, they learn how to tie their shoes, but once they're asked to tie on an apron behind their back, it becomes a lot harder and a further transfer. So a couple of even better learning theories work off the near and far transfer, and that's low road and high road. So low road transfer accomplishes near transfer when stimulus conditions in the transfer context are very similar to those in the prior context of learning, and it triggers a well-developed and semi-automatic response. It usually requires a great deal of practice in varying settings. So, for example, shoe tying, keyboarding, steering a car. Once you learn how to do this, you can pretty much do this in other contexts. Now, high road transfers of learning accomplishes far transfer, and it depends on really a mindful abstraction from the context of learning or application and a deliberate search for connections. So this mindful contemplation of an idea that can transfer, purposeful, conscious analysis and thinking things like, what is the general pattern? What is needed? What principles might apply? So for finding these connections, it demands time for exploration and investment of mental effort. For example, comparing arteries and electrical networks. If you're an electrician and you're learning about medical stuff like arteries in the human body.